Hello children, I am Mushkeen, your English teacher, and I welcome all of you to this session. Today, we'll be discussing something that is very important for all of us to understand and to imbibe. Freedom. What a magnificent word and what an amazing feeling, children. Freedom is a word that each one of us is aware of. We have heard about it. And we know that its meaning varies from person to person. Because everybody has a different opinion about this word. For some, it means to speak up for themselves. For some, to be whatever they like. For some, to go wherever they like. And for some, to do whatever they like. Freedom. Is it easy to attain, children? Is it limited to this small and, you can say, constrained concept? Freedom, when we look into the dictionary for its meaning, it means to be independent, children, of any dependence and be unrestricted. Unrestricted. Free of racism, discrimination, any coercion, oppression, children, or maybe any kind of subjugation. If we want to sum it up, freedom means independence. Roosevelt has said, freedom cannot be bestowed. Children, freedom cannot be bestowed. It is to be achieved. Faulkner has said, freedom is not what we claim, but what we practice. And Robert Frost. Children, do you remember Robert Frost? Yes, Road Not Taken. He has said, freedom lies in being bold. Yes, children, freedom lies in being bold. What do you mean by being bold? It's definitely having the right to speak up for yourselves. When we hear this word freedom, names of many renowned personalities come to our mind and to our heart as well. Because these people, they have strived hard to attain freedom. Achieving freedom, it's not an easy thing, children. So one such name is Nelson Mandela. How many of you know Nelson Mandela, children? Have you ever heard this? Yes, all of us are aware of this word, Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, the first black president of South Africa. Nelson Mandela was born on 18 July 1918 in South Africa. And he remained a worldwide renowned personality till his death in 2013. Now children, we need to understand what was so special about it that this personality was celebrated worldwide. He was famous globally. Nelson Mandela, he remained the global, even today, he is a famous personality. Since he died in 2013 and it has been 7 years since then, but nobody has forgotten his contribution, his name. He was the member of African National Congress, ANC, African National Congress. And this party, it opposed the government of whites, which were in minority. And why did this party oppose the government? What was it so important to oppose the government of whites? It was because this government, it indulged in racial discrimination, children. Apartheid. Apartheid, racial discrimination. We all know, children, what racial discrimination is. Yes, absolutely correct. Discrimination based on color. So these natives, they were dark-skinned, they were deprived of their rights, fundamental rights, by these whites who were minority, who were few in number, but they would deprive these natives that were dark-skinned, and they would not allow them to execute their fundamental rights, their basic rights. But do you think the government in power would have liked the opposition? Not at all. So the government, they banned ANC, African National Congress, in 1960. After banning ANC, Mandela was jailed in 1962. And in 1964, children, he was charged with sedition, treason. And you know, when somebody is charged with sedition, with treason, law doesn't go easy on him, children. So he was jailed, he was put behind the bars, and this government tried their best to reduce him to prisoner number, children, prisoner number 46664. They expected that Mandela will fade away. But did that happen? No. Though during his term, when he was behind the bars, he was never called Mandela. He was referred to as prisoner number 46664. But that didn't actually affect him. He became a symbol of resistance to racism. He spent 27 years in prison, children. Can you imagine? 27 years in prison. Then, de Klerk, who was the South African president that time, he lifted the ban on ANC, and Mandela was released in 1990. Mandela and de Klerk, they share the Nobel Peace Prize that was conferred on them in 1993. Now, children, after this, after the release, the election campaigning started. ANC, they wanted him, Mandela, to be the figure, though he was there, the figure of like inspiration. And they expected the win. And it came true. ANC won by 63% of the votes. And Mandela was elected as the first black president in 1994. He served until 1999. His book, his autobiography. Children, what's an autobiography? Absolutely correct. Auto, self, when you write about your own self, when you yourself write about it. So his autobiography was published in 1994, and it was titled Long Walk to Freedom. Why long walk, children? Because to fight against racism and to defeat it and be victorious against it was not an easy thing. When he was a boy, he would tend sheep. And he would actually think that he's the only person who is deprived of the rights. But when he became young, he was young adult, energetic, he realized that he was not the only person who was deprived of the rights. It was his whole nation, whole community. And then that fire that was in him to liberate himself from the clutches of racism, this fire turned into something bigger, something humongous. Why? Because now he wanted to liberate his whole nation. When he understood that he is not the only one who is being deprived of his basic rights, but his whole community, his whole nation, he wanted all of them to be liberated. And it took him a lot of struggle, and that is why long walk to freedom. Long walk, children. He was jailed, he spent 27 years in jail, he was reduced to just a number, 46664. But then he never gave up on his aim. Now this chapter that we are going to discuss today, it's an excerpt from his biography. What is an excerpt, children? An extract. This chapter includes, what does it include? This chapter includes the description of the inauguration ceremony, citations from his speech, his journey to being a freedom fighter and being the symbol of resistance, along with the tribute to other freedom fighters, to other countless people who sacrificed their life for their nation. Because definitely when you struggle, when you want something, it asks for sacrifice, children. It definitely asks for sacrifice. So let's have a small talk about this apartheid. Apartheid, racial discrimination, the discrimination based on color. In South Africa, the practice of apartheid was followed, and these dark-skinned people were deprived of their basic rights. And this chapter, it gives us an overview of how Nelson Mandela, along with his people, carved a way to a society where there would be no discrimination based on caste, color, creed, age, or gender. Now, let us discuss the chapter. In this chapter, as I already told you, we have the glimpses of the inauguration ceremony and his citations from his speech. So this chapter talks about the grand ceremony. What grand ceremony, children? The grand ceremony of the first democratic non-racial government. Non-racial government. Being sworn in, he said, "Never, never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another." This ceremony was an autumn day for South Africa. Autumn day, a busy day, a day of task, children, a day of task. It was 10 May 1994. 10 May 1994, when Mandela was sworn in as the first black president of South Africa. This swearing-in ceremony, It took place in an amphitheater in Pretoria. It was watched by millions of people globally on television. And Mandela addressed the rainbow gathering in the amphitheater with a zest, reinforcing that it will never happen again, that this beautiful land, South Africa, will be ever oppressed by any other man. No people in this beautiful land will oppress any other people. No person in this beautiful land will oppress any other person. Oppression of any kind, children, especially racial discrimination. He wished that the freedom of South Africa should reign. Freedom from the clutches of racism, apartheid, discrimination based on color. In his speech, he says that South Africa is rich in minerals and gems, but the greatest wealth of this country is people. Therefore, we ought to respect each other. He said that people, they are born with this innate quality of loving each other. But then hating, they learn it. No one is born hating another person because of the color or creed or gender. They learn it. So he says, if hating can be taught, loving your fellow beings, it can also be taught, children. He says that goodness of a man is a flame. The goodness of a man is a flame. It can be hidden, but it can never be exhausted. You can rekindle it. You can rekindle it, children. Then, Nelson Mandela, in his speech, where he addressed the rainbow gathering, children, rainbow, 7 colors, one single color does not make a rainbow, children. It was a rainbow gathering, means people from different nations, leaders from different nations were present there in the amphitheater, and Mandela was addressing them with zest. He talks about twin obligation. In his speech, he says that every man has twin obligation. One, for his family. Two, for his nation. So he emphasizes that one cannot neglect, cannot avoid his family, his responsibilities towards them. You cannot just shut your eyes, and neither can you run away, escape from the obligations that you have towards your nation. So he talks about twin obligation. This is very important, children, to understand that first he says that for a nation, the greatest wealth is its people. So we need to love each other. Even if they are hating, they can be taught to love one another, to respect one another. And the people, they have this twin obligation. So you are supposed to fulfill your responsibilities towards your family and towards your nation. You cannot escape from any of these duties. In this gathering of 4,000 people, 4,000 1,000 people. And the leaders from a wide range of geographical and ideological backgrounds. He says that it is not only the oppressed who needs to be liberated, but the oppressor as well. Why, children? Because he believes that not only the oppressed, but the oppressor also is robbed of the humanity. So it's very important to liberate both of them. On this day of inauguration, children, 2 national anthems were sung, one by whites and one by blacks. This was something that had never happened in the history of South Africa. But why did this happen? Why were 2 national anthems sung? This act, it symbolized the equality of blacks and whites. You know, children, the army officers, the police that was there, who could have jailed Nelson Mandela, they were saluting him. All of them were saluting him. And he, in his speech, says that I am quite sure that these people will be loyal to their nation. He doesn't doubt their loyalty. So Mandela, he is quite happy about it, that the nation has been liberated from the clutches of apartheid. But does he stop there? No, he doesn't, children. He says that I have to work to liberate my nation from the clutches of poverty and other social ills that exist there. I have to work for the upliftment of my nation, which is a continuous process. So children, when we try to understand this excerpt from the autobiography of Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom, what do we understand? 1, freedom, to achieve it, it's not an easy thing. It asks for sacrifice. That is why when we see this in his speech, he does not forget his fellow freedom fighters. He pays a great tribute to them in his speech, and he says that it would not have been possible without the contribution of these freedom fighters who have sacrificed their lives in this process, and others also, to attain freedom, liberation from the clutches of apartheid. So children, what do we understand? 1, that to attain freedom, to achieve it, it's not an easy task. It asks for sacrifice. Number 2, that we have twin obligations, children. Each one of us, we have twin obligations. What are these? Yes, 1 for the family and 2nd for the nation. Number 3, which is very, very important, the oppressor and the oppressed. Both are robbed of their humanity. When an oppressor oppresses an oppressed person, definitely he doesn't have that humanity. And when the oppressed retaliates and fights for its rights, he again does not consider that the other person is the human. That is why the oppressor and the oppressed both are robbed of their humanity. Therefore, both need to be liberated. Children, in our daily lives, we must inculcate this thing. We must not even be judgmental, because being judgmental towards anybody, being too critical in negative terms, it keeps a scar on the mind of the person that is being judged. So if we look on a smaller scale, this is kind of oppression, children, coercion, constraint, restriction. So we need to be free from this. You know, I remember a poem, Mending Wall. In Mending Wall, there is a beautiful line that when we create walls, we try to wall out people, but actually we are walling in ourselves. The line is, good fences make good neighbors. But children, what does it mean? That yes, we do not need to forget our limits, but then we need to break down, smash down all the walls of racism, discrimination, bias, prejudice, whatever exists in our hearts. Mandela, he broke all these walls in South Africa. We need to break these walls in our hearts if they exist, children. That's how we will be liberated. So children, the victory of Nelson Mandela, it signified the triumph of justice, peace, and human dignity. I hope, children, I'm clear. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. See you next time.